Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got quite the unboxing to share with you guys. I'm going to start this video off with an apology. If I'm objectively wrong about something, I am usually very quick to apologize, and this is something that I was absolutely wrong about. I told you guys that this would never happen, that it would be way too expensive, and that it's just, you know, there wouldn't be a market for what the end price would be. I looked up the prices on these products. These are new Microtech products, and I was legitimately shocked. I think some people will be really quick to just say, oh, it's just another expensive Microtech knife. It's just, you know, Microtech being greedy. Those of you who have handled a lot of Microtech knives, in fact, not just Microtech knives, but a lot of knives in general, especially American-made pocket knives, you're probably pretty familiar with pricing, both in terms of quality and materials over the last decade. I'm not saying that I'm right about everything. Obviously, I was wrong about this, but considering all the different things that I've handled and experienced over the years from various companies, various countries of origin, various materials and things like that, I found this to be a shockingly low price tag. It's a high price for a knife, but when you consider the competition and what's all involved here, I was actually really blown away. So I'll make my full argument here at the end and give you guys, you know, kind of my perspective, and then you can tell me what you think afterwards. But I was really shocked not only that these exist, but that they came in at the prices that they did. So either way, I'll put them down in the description so you guys can check them out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Thank you to eKnives for sending these in, allowing me to share them with everybody. These aren't mine. I have to send them back when I'm done. But very cool that eKnives was willing to loan me these two knives. So we're going to start off here with this guy. Now, I own different variations of these knives. I think you guys can probably guess what these are. But these are knives that I consider, like any big, you know, American Microtech fan, and I say that because Microtech did a couple of collabs with Reich. These are, in my opinion, must-owns if you are big into the, you know, the Microtech stuff. Wow. Right off the bat, this is my biggest question. The first question immediately answered. Number one, this is the MSI. The MSI is already kind of a marvel for like how it actually came, like what it is and how it came to be. It's a really impressive knife. I love mine. I love to carry and use it. It's so cool. This has the Microtech ram lock on it, which is of course the coil spring operated. We can't really call it a crossbar lock because it's this big tab of steel that slips in behind the you know, the lock face of the knife. Super smooth too. This is unreal. This is titanium. This is a US-made titanium production. It's 2025, okay? It's 2025. This is a ridiculously expensive thing to create in the United States. I think that, truthfully, this speaks to exactly how massive Microtech is. Because this product at this price is almost, if not completely impossible to create for the vast majority of other US-based companies. And again, it's a lot of people will sort of lazily point to greed, and they'll look at the price tag and say greed, when in reality it couldn't be further from the truth. And you know, there's a lot of reasons that people might not like Microtech, and you could certainly point to, you know, greed in other areas. But when it comes to this, I'm kind of flabbergasted that this isn't a $600 product. And I'm not saying that Microtech has an excuse to mark it up. I'm saying they have calculated their competition and they've looked at aftermarket companies like Original Goat, and they've said, you know, how do we have to price these things in order to get people to buy? And hopefully we start to see other companies attempting to kind of try to do the same thing. I know that that's a long shot, right? That's very wishful thinking. But for those of you who understand where I'm coming from here, I just, you know, I can't help but think this is super impressive. This is, you know, kind of an acid wash or like a dark, you know, Hinderer calls it like a working finish titanium. But let me point out here that these are not flat. These are contoured. Why is that important? Because the machines required to contour titanium like this and keep it ultra precision, those are expensive. That's crazy. We have the, I believe these are still M390 MK blades. It doesn't look like they print them on the knife at all. In fact, this is pretty minimal billboarding. My MSI has the thing, like all the, like the extra stuff on there, the extra like like the blade steel and everything. Does it say on the box? So here's the box. It says apocalyptic. They're almost certainly M390 MK, right? So these are actually considered signature series as well, which is funny because the signature series has been, that's been kind of synonymous with like very, like kind of cryptic markup. And you could say, oh, well, those are marked up. The difference is that the standard material used in these knives is aluminum. Titanium is a massive, like that's a totally different territory in terms of the material itself, the cost of the material, and then machining it. And it's not just one scale, it's two. So to compare this with like Hinder knives, for example, which are technically on a slightly higher tier, it's titanium and a titanium liner with a G10 front scale and typically 20 CV for $425, whereas this knife comes in at about $450. This is a price point on this tier of knife that has essentially been the same for an incredibly long period. It's not like a new slapped on price tag out of nowhere, right? I would put these knives on a much higher tier than like what we can expect from Benchmade in full titanium, or I could say ZT. I think ZT probably 10 years ago had some of the best priced full titanium knives. But this is at least on par with that, if not a step higher, in my opinion. Everybody is, of course, welcome to have a different opinion on that. These are so ridiculously smooth and centered up. I thought these were going to be flat. That's what I thought. I was wrong. So, we do have the card here. So it does say August of 2025, M390 MK. 6L 4V titanium, very cool. So what do we have in this other box here? I'm sure you guys can guess. This one is priced a little higher, but not nearly as high as I thought. And that all they had was the serrated one. That's just what they had. Again, though, contoured. This is insane. So you can get these like non-serrated and a bunch of different finishes. This is this is just like a dream, man. This is so unbelievably impressive to me. The vast majority of people are not going to be quick to kick down doors to pay $455 for the MSI or $470 for the Stitch, which I think is roughly what they end up costing, right? And obviously, you don't need titanium on your pocket knife. You don't need the thing to be made in the USA, and you don't need super crazy ultra materials like M390. No, that's not the argument. You can certainly get a really awesome pocket knife that'll last you for a lifetime, and you can spend about $50 for it, sometimes less, right? But for people who specifically care about USA manufacturing, premium materials like titanium, premium execution of said materials like contouring and really, really tight tolerances, and then really premium blade materials like M390 MK. And I believe they've been hitting those numbers a little bit higher in terms of the HRC. There's an enormous community of people where all of these things, these boxes need to be checked. There is obviously a market for this. And that market, that group of people, this community of people is very used to paying prices for exactly this combination of elements. Again, made in the USA is a really big one there, right? We can't just point to Chinese products that are made from the same materials. No, made in the USA is a big element here that's very important to some people. Those people are used to paying prices in the $500 or $600 territory. This is what I expected to see, especially from Microtech. Why? Because Microtech has a history of charging too much money when they can, right? But I think that the reason that we're seeing this, number one, I think the reason that we saw the MSI and the Stitch priced as low as they were is very specifically because they saw a lot of their competition maybe not being super successful with the price increases. Maybe, right? A little bit. I think, again, Microtech said, where can we get to? And then with the titanium stuff, they obviously saw companies like Original Goat and others making titanium scales for these at $200, $250 a pop, sometimes $300. And they said, what can we do to get people to buy the whole package from us? Here it is, right? So as far as USA high-end production knives go that are exactly this, made in the USA, full titanium, premium materials, premium tolerances, it's going to be really hard, I think, for people to come up with, and it's perfectly okay, you know, if aesthetically these aren't your thing, but for people to find knives of this size, like this is a lot of material, this, you know, level of execution, right? It's really kind of incredible. Again, these aren't going to be for everybody, but I'm just shocked. I was completely wrong as far as what I thought these were going to be priced at. You know, now, if there wasn't, you know, all of these other elements creating this competition, do I think that these would have been priced higher? If Microtech could get away with charging an additional $100 for these things, do I think they would? Yeah, I think they would. I think where they'll go from here is offering exactly this, but with different, you know, like if they want to make a special signature series of this knife, where they'll charge more is anodizing the titanium, texturing the titanium, adding some sort of special inlay, and then adding special finishes and special, you know, coatings to the blade, right? Does Microtech know that people would love to have a full DLC, right? Semi-polished, you know, Microtech MSI? Well, yeah. And I'm sure they'll make it and charge $650, $700 for it, or maybe more, maybe a little bit less. I don't know, right? But yeah, I think this is pretty cool. I think that this kind of dropped without a ton of people knowing. Like both of these knives kind of dropped without a ton of people realizing. In fact, my own community during a live stream had to tell me, I was like, man, that'd be cool if we ever saw the titanium Stitch and MSI. And people in my own live stream said, they exist, they're there, and they're way less than you thought that they would be. So yeah, I think these are really pretty spectacular. In fact, I think they're beyond spectacular. They're truly amazing, right? This price wouldn't have been super amazing, you know, 10 years ago. In fact, actually, even 10 years ago we had the Anthem from Benchmade and it was an integral and it was like $400. All right. So 10 years ago, I don't think the price would have been nearly as amazing, but in 2025, yes. It's not amazing if you're comparing with the Chinese equivalent. No. But if you're comparing specifically with the U.S. high-end production market, yeah, it's pretty incredible. I'm shocked that these are contoured. I have both of these knives in full titanium because I purchased the originals and then I also purchased aftermarket scales from Original Goat. And to be fair and give credit where it's due, Original Goat scales have a lot more complexity in them. They've got like crazy finishes and texturing and things like that. And I love my diamond textured Stitch. And I love my, you know, sort of diagonal textured or like cross textured MSI. I think they're wonderful, and I'm not going to replace those knives with these. But this version of the knife is actually less expensive. Like like it's already put together and tuned and everything from the factory, and it's the same material, right? So I suppose for people looking for this knife and, you know, titanium scales, you're going to have to kind of decide: do you want the standard ones from Microtech, or do you want to get, you know, the standard versions with, I'm sorry, not the standard. You want to get the titanium versions from Microtech. You want to get the standard versions in aluminum, G10, or injection mold plastic, and upgrade them with, you know, aftermarket titanium scales. I think these are cool. I would absolutely pick up another one personally if they did something, you know. I'm one of those people that's going to be into the extra. I'm one of those people that they'll be able to take advantage of for, you know, building some special DLC version and then charging way too much money for. I'm able to recognize it, but at the same time, that's the one. I want to see like a DLC frame with like a bronze, like a heat bronze blade or something like that, right? I think that would be super cool. So hopefully Microtech does this. I don't know, you know, if and when we'll see it. But yeah, these were, it's kind of like what I, you know, once I realized they existed and I asked eKnives, would you send some out? It's kind of what I expected. In fact, dare I say it's a little bit better. I just wasn't 100% sure that they were going to be contoured, but they are. This is pretty awesome. In my book, this is a Microtech W. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you own these and if you feel the same way. Yeah, that's going to be it. Links in the description for these guys. No idea where the card went. Oh, there it is. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.